Welcome to Journeys of Empowerment. I'm your host, Michiel Sujit Rijt, and this podcast is all about amplifying people empowerment. We all want to make a difference, not just in our lives, but in the lives of others. Yet challenges often hold us back. So how do we turn adversity into growth? Journeys of Empowerment brings you real stories and insights from role models who faced struggles, embraced transformation and created impact. Because empowerment isn't a solo journey, it's a ripple effect. Empowerment starts with the choice. Your choice to listen, learn and take action. Tune in and start amplifying your impact. And before we dive in, a quick shout out to our sponsor Neotopia, helping leaders turn behavior change into lasting impact. If you're leading a team, you know how tough it can be to get people on board with change. Resistance, disengagement, old habits, sounds familiar? The truth is, change shouldn't be left to chance. That's why Neotopia has developed a proven methodology to help leaders create real lasting impact. It all starts with the awareness session, a powerful workshop where you discover why behavior change fails and how to fix it. A structured approach to make change stick and how to lead teams who take ownership, not just follow orders. When change is done right, it saves time, energy and frustration and helps build a thriving work culture. Curious? Join the awareness session and experience it for yourself with neotopia.nl to sign up today. This conversation is with someone who truly embodies healing through transformation. Irene Anggreeni is a mental fitness coach whose journey from demanding engineering career and a challenging upbringing in Indonesia to a life of healing, advocacy and empowerment is nothing short of inspiring. In our conversation we dive into reinventing careers for fulfillment, overcoming trauma and burnout, and the power of mindfulness and community in mental well-being. Irene's raw and honest stories serve as a powerful reminder that every setback can be a stepping stone to transformation. If you're looking for insights on resilience, self-compassion and turning pain into purpose, this episode is for you. Let's jump in and get inspired. Irene, I am very happy, so glad that we finally found the proper time to start our conversation. So welcome.
Michiel, thank you for your warm welcome and for having me here in your lovely studio. It feels very cozy already.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Hey, let's start at the beginning. We met at Female Ventures, where we both were panel members. I think, is it already
3 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years.
Was it? No, was it 2021 or 2022? I don't know.
I have no idea, Michiel. Yeah, maybe okay. 2-3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were at Female Ventures in Utrecht and invited by Samar, who was also in the. It will still be published, but we will be after this one. So okay. But nice. With Samar and invited both. And what really struck me at that moment was that out of your personal experience, which we of course will have a conversation around about, you were starting your business and aiming to help a lot of people to prevent. And also when you are in a depression or burnout, to help cope in a healthy way, and to so I was really struck. And but before I will do all the talking, maybe let's start with your professional journey. What are you doing right now? And it's two things: volunteering on the one hand, and on the other hand, you are building your business.
Yes. Indeed. Yeah. When we did this pre-call for this preparation, I was telling you about like how I'm very involved with Toastmasters. So that's kind of one of the space I'm volunteering. There are other things also that I'm doing out of kind of like for myself, and I feel like, okay, that brings value to the communities I'm in. Like I'm organizing also once a month, for instance, like the meaningful conversation. So with a group of friends, and it's kind of a really nice, cozy group as well. That I feel also that's my space to recharge. And professionally, I work as a mental fitness coach.
Ooh, mental fitness coach.
Yeah. It sounds nice.
It sounds
There's
nice.
a nice ring to it, yeah. And specifically for people in maybe in leadership roles, they may feel lonely, like dealing with all the pressure, the stress, and the anxiety perhaps of being a leader. A leader can be also like a leader in the workplace, but can be also a leader in your family, in your community, or a leader in your own life. And sometimes there's a lot of interference from this. We talk also about the self-sabotaging stuff, like things from our old patterns that we still have not resolved or have not dealt with, and that's the path I'm in right now, like really to So since we met, Michiel, it has evolved a bit, because I did focus more in the mental health aspect, and now I'm really into okay, what's next in the journey? Because you have for instance, I had my mental health episode. I was struggling with depression, clinical depression, but then after the recovery and then the rebuilding, my life, my career, my relationship, and how to sustain the well-being. And one way I see it, okay, physical health, we also, after an illness, we don't just do nothing. We keep working on our physical fitness, and the same with mental fitness. And I found, really wonderful insights and wonderful tools and resources that I use for myself, and that's what I use to empower people as well.
Yeah, beautiful. And when I think of is there a sort of life is a journey. Journeys of empowerment is all about the journey, and what I can imagine is that when is the ideal moment to reach out to you?
The ideal moment.
Or what are the moments? Maybe the ideal moment is maybe not the right way to put it, but what moments normally are people in, or mental state are people in when they reach out to you?
Yeah, that is a very important question. If there's any doubt, I always like to give people, sometimes people who are, who are not ready to work with me. I'm open also to, just to have a call or to have connection. And what I can do is then refer them or, point them, maybe this is a more appropriate support for you. So that's also kind of a role I gladly take in the community, let's say. Not every interaction has to turn into a business. Because, that's really how I want to live my values as well. That's kind of, okay, if I could, even if it's just a small gesture that can get them into okay, the first step, perhaps towards healing or towards growing. That's so there's no ideal condition, but I get why you asked that, and maybe to answer it from a different angle. It's really people who who probably now, if I say who wants more of life, that might sound wrong, but maybe who have had enough with being, sabotaged by their own whatever it is, like negative behaviors or negative self-talk, and perhaps like they see it as well, kind of, like maybe things are great on paper, like you have the great job, you have a house, you have a nice family, but they are feeling inside not fully themselves, like
not fulfilling,
not fulfilled, indeed, not fulfilled with how they live their life. So that's also kind of a possibility for me to explore together with the person.
And the reason why I'm asking is because mental health, and there can be stigma at play. There can be shame. There can be guilt. There can be denial. There can be and it's not a broken arm. No. That it's very obvious. We have to go to the hospital, X-ray, and so forth and so on. So what I would love to understand and help a lot of people understand is when do I think maybe it's a good time to have a conversation with Irene, because there is something, I can't point my finger, get my finger behind it, but there is something. Can you maybe help me a little bit understand what would be? Maybe that's what I'm trying to ask was, what's the ideal moment? It's not ideal, but what can be triggers when people have to think about, hey, maybe it's a good time to call Irene because I'm running around in circles or whatever?
Exactly that, Michiel.
Running around in circles.
What you said, kind of people feel like, okay, they're maybe stuck. Or feeling trapped, feeling like they have no options. And of course, it can look very different between individual and another individual. And that's kind of like, especially if there's already that, can you call that some existential question?
Some purpose.
Question.
And why am I here? And what am I here to do?
Kind of they want to be to go more inward, to create more awareness. Some people, like, they oftentimes they know, like, okay, this is like how I should live my life, like this is a good way if I'm doing this, and it's not it's not nice, or it's not the good way, but
you feel it deep down.
They feel it deep down, but sometimes kind of it is also really hard to make the change.
It is,
and that is like where I could support, like, because people of course it takes a lot of effort and willpower, and a lot of insight, self-awareness, a lot of action as well to to change something in your life. And it can be much easier, like when you have professional guidance, you have someone who has been there, who has the deep empathy, because, like, okay, that person knows what you're dealing with, what you're talking about, and so that's maybe to complete that picture a bit, because I think it's complex. It's complex.
It's complex, and on the other hand, it's. I'm so happy that we are in an era that we can openly talk a lot more about it. A friend of mine, and also and a friend of mine, and is Robin Imthorn, and he's a Marine, and he's been twice to Afghanistan, and the last time. There happened a lot which ultimately led to PTSD, heavy PTSD, and there's a lot of stigma when it comes to being a Marine. I'm a former Marine, and about a long time ago, and our statement was, emotions, no, you can push them away. Come on, there are no emotions. And we are now in an era that we can openly talk about it, but how do we help people recognize, hey, maybe this is the right moment to start opening up to a professional, reaching out to Irene, or...
This is really, really, okay, what you shared, Michiel, like, maybe, like how to simplify it to people, because oftentimes when we ask like, what emotions are we feeling? Are you feeling like, I had to go through that phase myself to understand like, what am I feeling really? I just know I feel bad. And I think that's, even if there's no language, like the granularity of, okay, what is it I'm feeling? If you know that you don't feel like you are, that you don't feel like you don't feel good, like you don't feel you're, comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there could be a lot underneath that. And since you mentioned about PTSD and so on, so just to give the context as well, I train as a therapist, as a clinical therapist. So it is also something that, like a background that I carry into my coaching, because I do it in a very trauma-informed way. But I'm not working with trauma. So that's, maybe also, like you mentioned about the ideal situation. I also have like clear I have clarified my boundaries a bit more. Like, okay, like, because I'm no longer working in a clinical setting. So I don't work with, kind of like trauma work. No, I leave that to the professional in the healthcare. But, kind of myself, knowing I've been through complex trauma myself, and I have the training that it is, something that I'm very attuned with. I'm very perceptive, like who's the person, the client I'm working with, just to give it a context.
So there are limits where you stop, and and can it also be that during a few conversations with your client, you say, okay, but hey, we're now stumbled upon a real deep trauma, that you say, okay, but maybe for this part, it's wiser to go to a psychologist or psychiatrist to let work on the specific areas of trauma which you're dealing with. Can also happen, right?
It can be, and usually the ideal scenario is that, I do that upfront. Like I ask, okay, is there any concern about, or if I know someone comes to me like, I want to work through my trauma, okay, then I would, maybe really check more carefully, like what is, because
in marketing, we would say you do a qualification call, but check. But it is a form of qualification, right? Yes. Because you want to make sure that
I want to be respectful as well.
Respectful for the time and the effort, but also to make sure that the way you would love to help and is also the way people need the help to be helped for, right? And so that it makes me think about the course I just finished, so part of my inward journey where we were talking about before we started our recording, is the, I don't know if you're familiar with the book, The Body Keeps the Score of Bessel van der Kolk.
All
right. And I fell in love with the book, with the concept. It hit the nerve. And so I did a 7-month postgraduate course of Bessel van der Kolk via the Trauma Research Foundation. He founded in 25 years ago. And it was a 7-month deep dive into real trauma and trauma-informed care. And it was with psychologists, psychiatrists, practitioners, and Michiel Reit. and I was, and it was really, there are so many layers of trauma. There are so many
absolutely
degrees. There are so many. It's so complex, but also so there are many intersections. And what I've learned there is one of the most important things is how to self-regulate ourselves, because we can't solve what has happened. We can't. We just can start working on it and accepting and allowing ourselves and so forth and so on. But it takes time. But the whole self-regulation, and I believe in your scope, you are also working with your clients with when it comes to self-regulation. And I know for sure that for you also an important personal theme, right?
Absolutely. That's like the foundation, before the real work can start.
Yeah.
That's why maybe people, I've worked in the clinical setting with quite very deep trauma. These are people with personality disorders, personality problems. So they have oftentimes it's very complex, really harsh childhood trauma that I don't feel like I want to share here. But often the large part, the legwork, is really about self-regulation. Because is it okay? I deep dive into
of course.
this.
No, let's first unpack. Let's first unpack.
Yes.
What is self-regulation? What does it mean?
Yeah, so self-regulation is really we are all experiencing stimulation here, and sometimes there are situations that trigger us, maybe it's too close to old memories, painful memories, and then in that moment, we get triggered, it's what is it? Stress response or trauma response? Yeah, you probably have heard of the fight, flight, freeze response.
Not only heard. I experienced. We experienced it big time. Right?
We all been there. So the thing. Yeah, now I'm putting a bit of my old rusty hat as a clinical therapist. Because I train as a dance movement therapist, so the body is really central in the education. So when we experience this, fight, flight, or and if we are not able to perform to flee the situation or to fight back, then we might feel trapped into this freeze.
Yes.
So when people are still dealing with trauma, this is easily triggered, and they cannot go back to their balance line, their baseline, let's say, the just enough engagement, but they're also feeling relaxed. So
the window of tolerance.
Exactly.
You have your high tolerance, your hypo,
indeed,
and your hippo, and your hyper.
So we want
arousal.
To stay
in the window of tolerance.
In the window of tolerance, and so when we are outside of this window of tolerance, then we are just in survival. So no. Even you are advised, you should do this, or someone comes to you offering really empathy or connection. They want to be there for you. That person may not be able to perceive it or to to open themselves for that and
they don't recognize it. Maybe they don't know it and don't recognize it, or it feels dangerous instead of well meant.
They're just feeling indeed in the survival mode, everything is a threat. Even maybe someone coming for help, coming to help them, they might still see as a threat. And with self-regulation, it's really about that they learn maybe the tools or the techniques that work for them. Also that they can use moment to moment or in their day-to-day routine, that they can stay as much as possible in the window of tolerance. Or if they get triggered, they know how to regulate themselves. Okay, let me cool myself down, calm my nervous system, so I'm in a homeostasis, in a balanced state again. And that involves a lot the body, Michiel, because this is not just in the mind.
No. The body and mind connection, right?
Exactly. Because, like it's a lot in the nervous system as well, because fight, flight, freeze, that means our nervous system is highly, hyperactivated, hyper alert.
Or a hippo, so it's really freeze.
Indeed. Then it's like, okay, there's no hope, like there's no way I could fight or I could flee, freeze. Or there's another one, fawn.
Which is that?
The fawning. It's kind of like animal as well. Like they fawn. Like I tend to what I remember. Kind of this. This is like a response that kind of. Then they just become very accommodating, or maybe a bit pleasing, to the
to the environment,
to the environment, because like like it's maybe like a more evolved response to fawn.
And it's when you get dysregulated, we feel, it's so easy to judge other people by their reaction when they react to something, and we don't know their background, we don't know the context, what happened. We only judge people in a certain reaction. But what I come to know out of this whole 7-month deep dive is, and it was every week a 2.5 hour video, and with sometimes live with Bessel himself, and most of the times all involved clinical psychiatrists, psychologists, and but also filming real situations. And when I always start crying is, and then okay, this is before I really recognize, hey, there's something happening. I already got goosebumps and then bodily reaction. Is when a baby or a little child and a mother are playing, and the mother is really in tune with her child, and then playing and giving back feedback like signs in bodily and expression, and then all of a sudden she has to stop that for 1 minute. So she stops. She get the question. She stops with being attuned, no reaction at all. So the child is like, hey, he's confused. Hey, mama, it gets stressed and get out of tune and going to throw balls and all. And when that happens, when I saw that the first time, I felt, okay, here's something. There's work to be done. And what I've discovered that. You can, of course, intellectually understand that if a child in the first 12 months got given away, in my situation, given away for adoption, was only 10 days old baby, of course that has some sort of impact, but you don't know specifically, and I don't have that language. It was in my implicit memory. And what I come to understand is that the whole disconnection, what happened there, has for the rest of your life impact on your neural pathways, on your central nervous system, on bodily, on your mind, without knowing it. So, and I became conscious about it, and I was like, wow, here is something, because the whole soothing, and mom looks at her child, and it's okay, and the whole reassurance, what comes from that, and the whole. So it was a big discovery that, hey, here's some work to do, which I didn't know, and I was 50 when I did the course. So it took me five decades. To discover, okay, here is a real work to do, to understand, and still it hurts, but the understanding and having words for it, having a sort of common language and a common ground to talk about it, also with you now, is a gift. It's a true gift. At that moment, I didn't felt like a gift because it hurt. Yeah, it hurts.
I understand. Yeah. I have a similar experience, because I did the master education, dance movement therapy, and I realized back then it was also, you know, some of the material, like, this experiment also was very popular. You know, it's like this wall face experiment, like the mom, like, you know, suddenly no expression, and then like the child
really gets dysregulated,
really get distressed, and you know, asking for attention, crying, and so on. So it is. We can be really confronted, kind of like, because this is something that even when we don't have words as child, like, there's this sense memory, implicit memory, you call it, and maybe also there's a sense of relief, like knowing, like, oh, now it makes sense, you know, why I'm feeling like this, like, kind of maybe like not belonging, or where I have always struggled with self-love, for instance. And then that's then a whole new journey, you know, like, to convert this awareness into actually, you know, so how do you cultivate that for yourself? Because you cannot possibly go back, you know, like, demand your parents, give me love. It doesn't match anymore, So how do you diligently, as an adult, you know, like, also dealing with the pain, and keeping yourself well regulated, and also cultivating these whole life elements that we were missing. And I think no one is immune to this. I think we all, at, you know, certain points in our life, we must have experienced loss, or, you know, like, disappointment, and really heavy you know, separation maybe, or you know, not being seen, not being heard. And
I didn't even know that there was a word for it. There is a word for the trauma when you got divorced with your mother within the first 12 months. It's separation trauma, and I didn't know the word. There's also, I read a book about it. It's called The Primal Wound, and the primal wound is about the first wound, which occurs when you got separated from your mother within the first 12 months after birth. Of course, separation trauma can also occur later, but for me, in my specific case, and the whole journey about reading about it, feeling about it, it took me 4 years or so. But no, and what makes me curious, because it's your professional journey we're talking about, before we dive into also, okay, but were there a few pivotal moments, or were there a few breakthroughs, or were there setbacks or adversity? What helped you on this path before we go into that part of the conversation? Because I really would love to understand and share with the audience, okay, but Irene, you didn't start your career like this. You're an engineer by background, but before you do that, you mentioned also your role in Toastmasters. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the volunteering, mentoring Toastmasters?
I can put a plug for Toastmasters.
Of course, we will share it also in the notes, and because I noticed some sort of pride coming out of. When we were talking about it in the, and you see it in the smile. You can see the smile when we're thinking about it. So it's demanding on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's
Toastmasters. Like, I joined actually only recently, Michiel, like 2023.
Yeah,
and I wish I have joined much sooner. You know, because it is the way I see it. Toastmasters, you know, they have a tagline, a slogan, where leaders are made. But so it is, you know, known as a public speaking community. There are clubs everywhere, also in the Netherlands. There are a lot of them. But when we connect it to leadership, like, what is a leader really? Like, you know, we are building relationships. And we do our best to communicate, like, to bring our stakeholders or our people towards, a common goal, a collective vision. And for that, you need to really need to be present and communicate well. You know, like, get to a clear point. Sometimes you have to make hard decision, and Toastmasters just to give it for your wild imagination. It's like a playground for all those. And for instance, right now, like, you know, since summer last year, I've been more involved, like in my own club. So I'm part of the UPS Toastmasters Club. So it's a corporate club, but open for public. I'm also involved, like, on the, kind of in the club growth, you know, because in the Netherlands and also in our district, Netherlands, Belgium, Benelux, basically, also France and Monaco. So that's part of the district here that I'm part of. There's there are, you know, kind of emerging clubs, including in companies. So corporations also, they start to see, or I think they've been seeing, you know, the benefits of Toastmasters within their organization to really build that confident and influential leaders, you know, who can communicate well with, who can deliver a convincing presentation, or, you know, who meet clients and they can get their message across. So I've been more involved in facilitating the growth of especially corporate clubs in the Netherlands and also Belgium. And one of the initiatives that we are currently preparing right now is the Corporate Summit. So it's taking place in Rotterdam.
Okay, when?
Yeah, on 11th of March.
11th of March already?
Yes.
Okay,
So I hope this episode goes out before.
Ooh, I have to look in the planning. I'm not sure. Not sure.
No pressure. No pressure. But
and where in the summit? Tell me, can you share a little bit, a sneak preview about the summit?
Preview, yeah. No, because people, if they don't know Toastmasters, they, you know, like you probably right now also sitting, what is he talking about? You know, like, why is he so passionate about it? So the whole concept of this corporate summit is that we invite companies representatives, and typically these are people from HR or learning and development, or, you know, like if like management, like they want to experience Toastmasters, they're also welcome. So we are showcasing Toastmasters as a leadership development program in companies. And people will experience as well in the summit a demo meeting, so they have first-hand experience. You know, what is this Toastmasters meeting about? You know, like, because it's quite structured, so there are roles involved and so on, and each role is crucial for the meeting to unfold in a, you know, like in a productive way, you know, like in a, you know, because I think I'm not the only one who says, like, we have had a lot of, like, maybe unproductive meetings, you know, like people who go to meetings and afterwards say, well, you know, like it was not so, you know, it was a waste of my time, you know, I could have skipped it or something like that. So that's why, like, you know, kind of like these things, also these practical, applicable things of our working life, that's also what we get to practice in Toastmasters.
So that's on the 11th of March in Rotterdam. Yeah. What is the location in Rotterdam?
At the Social Hub.
Oh, the Social Hub. Okay.
You know it?
Cool, of course.
Nice.
Nice. All right. And what makes me curious, besides Toastmasters, what's for you the definition of leadership?
Oh, I didn't prepare a definition.
No, but it's personal. What comes to mind? What comes to mind? What is for you specifically, personally? What is leadership? Because leadership, you hear it. It's a buzzword, and for sure it's necessary. But it's still a buzzword, and it's wide. And but what for you personally? So there's no right or wrong. It's what comes from within. Maybe what is preferable leadership? Maybe that's the big.
I think leadership is like maybe more of an attitude, you know, kind of that you. One word that really comes up for me strongly, because that's also one of my values, or my personal value, is like being being of service to the community for the common good, the common goal. And a leader, it can be all sort of different flavors, and there are, I think technically there are a lot of leadership styles, style this, style that, and so on. But a leader is basically the facilitator of, that a group of people can contribute together in a productive way, in an effective way towards this common goal, this common vision. And that takes,
with a lot of carrots and sticks, right? With a lot of carrots and sticks, right?
Carrot and sticks?
No, a lot of punishment. No.
I think there are various techniques, and maybe carrot and sticks work at certain age level.
Age level, okay, now it's getting interesting.
Emotional age is different than real age.
All right.
But, especially... what I learned so much, from being in a Toastmaster, because it's voluntary organization, is really how to connect on a deeper level, to touch what is the intrinsic motivation of people. And gladly, thankfully, people in Toastmasters, they do want to develop themselves.
To contribute also.
And that makes it a bit easier to pull out of them, what is your personal goal, and then how to align it with the bigger goal, because I think that's the art of being a leader. You cannot just carrot and stick all the time, or punishment with a whip.
No, but, of course.
Yeah, really, what's in it for you?
No, I work.
Pick that out, and
bringing out the best in people, right? And
yes,
and that's the I've loved it. It resonates because the sponsor of this podcast is Neotopia, and what I love about working with Neotopia is that it's a methodology centered around bringing out the best in people and via positive reinforcement. So no carrots and sticks, but real positive reinforcement, making compliments, and also really understand what is behavior, what is the desired behavior, and that we acknowledge that we acknowledge certain desired behavior, and that we reward desired behavior.
Okay.
And it resonates, and I think that's what is leadership about. That you also become a leader people want and don't necessarily need, but they want. And but Toastmasters.
Wait. Can I roll back on that, because you make me think of something. One crucial element in Toastmasters is also constructive feedback. Ooh, spicy, yeah. Because I think that's also what people, professionals, and also people who are committed to their self-improvement, their personal growth, that's what they want. To receive feedback, acknowledgement, of course, that's important, appreciation, but also if they make mistakes, or if there are someone spots this can actually be done better, So how do you deliver that in a way that constructive feedback in a way that is respectful and compassionate, but effective?
Hey, now we talk. It's beautiful, and it sounds so easy, and yet it's challenging topic for each and every one of us, right? Constructive feedback. It sounds really, wow, constructive feedback. Yes, we have to do that. But it's not it's not in our default.
True. Yeah.
We have to really learn.
Indeed. And that's where we practice. We probably learn it somewhere in our journey, this is how to give feedback. There's a sandwich method, positive, negative.
Hamburger method.
But then you need to practice. It's an art. And sometimes like high stake moments, like at your work, or kind of like with your boss or something, that may not feel safe. But that's why, like why I'm passionate about Toastmasters, because of that. I also want feedback, kind of, because if everyone is just giving me compliments, then I may not grow as fast if I receive that constructive, honest feedback.
Of course.
Yeah.
What is the okay? Then wrap this topic, wrap it up. But what makes me curious is, what is the number one ingredient for constructive feedback? The number one.
Acknowledgement.
Of?
You mentioned one, so that's why I'm being careful with my choice. But acknowledgement, it sounds also a bit neutral, right? So acknowledgement is also, kind of can be acknowledgement of what you do well.
Okay.
Acknowledgement of observation, like okay, like this is something that I observe can be can be done differently because like if your goal is to engage the audience, for instance, I observe like some audience drop out, for instance, like from from your presentation, let's say, and then you can give like your feedback actually. So acknowledgement first is always acknowledgement.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the person and what is somebody trying to achieve, and also the good part of the
and then start with that.
Okay. Hey, now, but Journeys of Empowerment is also, of course, about our personal journey. And what makes me curious, and I can imagine the audience, is what led you to the path of mental fitness, mental health? Because I somewhere heard a little, but I know much more. But I would love to share more about your personal journey. Let's start with the beginning. So where are you, and then maybe go up to the points that leads to, okay, why are you doing what you're doing? So let's start with, where are you born?
Born in Kudus, Central Java, Indonesia.
Ooh.
Yeah, in the beginning 80s.
Yes.
82. And I'm the youngest of 4 siblings, and a bit of in Dutch it's called nakomaatje.
Yeah.
So I'm like unexpected young baby. So my siblings are older, much older than me. And it is also like part of kind of like the whole trauma that we talked about. It is like that sense of I'm like not really desired, kind of, because later on I did learn, as an adult, I did learn that, okay, like my mom actually wanted to abort me, for instance, like, that it was like, a bit of like, okay, that's a fact, and that feels like, it makes sense, why I feel, even not knowing that fact, I felt like, okay, there's some sort of rejection, some sort of resentment from, and conditional, And
thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, for acknowledging that. It is
that's profound. That's already really profound. So thank you for sharing, because we tend to not talk about it or step away from it, but it has severe impact for the rest of our lives on how we feel internally, right?
Exactly, yes. And that spot on, Michiel, because that's also what I was dealing with growing up in my childhood. I already sense like, kind of like a bit of that sense of depression, maybe like, life is so hard. So, kind of, hopelessness also, this is like how it is. And I compensate by a bit of overachieving things. So I wanted like, kind of like at school. I'm more like the bookish type. I'm not like very social because I didn't have that social skills so developed also, like from my own first family. Like we didn't talk much, just the practical stuff maybe. And so that's been like creating a lot of isolation growing up. Like I felt I didn't have, even with my own family. And I guess it's a pattern that's established as well. So I couldn't also really talk openly with my siblings, because they are much older. They already had their different life. They were teenagers when I was a child and so on. And it kind of somehow like I persevered, I went out of the house like for high school, around. I started a bit early. I think I was 13 when I got to high school, or 14. Yeah, so it's quite common in Indonesia to already to leave the family house, like to go on a student house for high school. So that's what I did. Like it's just like the big city, like a 1.5 hour away, but that also felt like where I felt very limited, kind of like I don't know much about life, and I couldn't really communicate what I need or just to make connection, like how it is, like how do people make friends, I had no idea. I'm also still figuring out now. So.
Yeah, but I think it's a work. We will stay for the rest of our life, work in progress, right?
Yeah.
So, and we all have themes and challenges to figure it out. And for you, and I can imagine. Well, may I jump in a little? You
Please.
Learned a lot, because the reason why we're sitting here is also because you reached out in your personal way. At the event of Female Ventures. It could have easily been that we only were there, members of the panel, having a drink, and then never meet each other again, right? Yeah. But it was also you who reached out and like, hey, Michiel, I want to really know what you're doing. And I didn't know at that moment.
You didn't know?
And,
that's why it took you some time.
I was in the discovery stage for well-being tech startups. And although I was helping startups, but I was still in my inward journey. But you reached out in your personal also very interested way. So you're very interested in people and what motivates them. With a lot of words, my big compliment for you is that you really learn to connect on a deeper level and start a friendship like we did, like we do, but like we did then.
Yeah. And thank you for acknowledging. I think it is really about being curious and being daring, sometimes being vulnerable. I mean, like you could have said, no, I'm not interested to get to know you. Okay, fine. Move on.
Swipe.
But swipe left.
Oh, that comes too easy. That came too fast. Swipe left. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. That's also maybe another story. I have a lot of experience.
Well, maybe we have to jump into that one. No.
But kind of it took, I guess, a lot of trial and error, and and during that time, because I was doing well at school, I graduated university, and then I got the scholarship and so on. So that was at that point I thought it's. It was like a ticket for a life makeover, because after my bachelor, I did that in Indonesia, in Jakarta, as computer science major. Then I got a scholarship to continue my master's in Sweden, and then it was like, okay, this is like a big adventure, and I think it would certainly do me good, do me well, that I could, explore also like how is Irene like in a completely new environment, because I was also honestly like I felt a bit stuck, like okay, in Indonesia I've moved like further away like from my family home, but I also still feel like like there's it's so easy to fall into that dynamics again, these old dynamics that I didn't really that I felt really didn't serve me. Like I'm always the youngest one, like that I feel I am not having my autonomy like fully developed. So that's why like okay, opportunity to go far away to Sweden, and that was also quite hard, but there was a lot of excitement at the same time. So all in all, it was a positive experience.
For how long did you go there?
2 years I stayed in
2 years,
Sweden.
okay, wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yes.
how was Sweden for you?
Sweden was like the first foreign country I ever set foot from Indonesia straight to Sweden.
That's a cultural challenge, right?
Yeah, and it's very cold, like in the winter. But that's also something that really opened my horizon, because like okay, meeting like a whole international community, in the university and so on, like learning like different perspective, not just from my Indonesian as a like a Chinese Indonesian growing up in Java and so on, and I learned a lot about how kind and generous human beings can be. So that's how generous people can be.
Wow.
So it is very, very inspiring, very eye-opening, and it also definitely left a mark, like that I change also a lot of my worldview, my beliefs, and I still carry that with me, And back then, when I was still a student in Sweden, like I had my first boyfriend. And he's like he's the one who's introduced me like to traveling. Okay, like this. Back then it was still at the very beginning, like there's the couch surfing. So I was like the pioneer, like now I don't use it anymore. But it was also like to trust more, like in the goodness of people. Kind of like why would you open your door like to strangers, but kind of apparently like okay, like this is possible, Of course there's some safety measures and so on, and so I also did that myself, like when I was then after Sweden I moved to the Netherlands.
How old were you at what age?
24. I moved to the Netherlands. I moved to do my PhD in industrial design engineering. Yeah. So that was in...
Where did you do that? In the...
University of Twente, which is in Enschede.
Good day! Yes.
Yeah. And that was where I think I reached, kind of also maybe, sometimes like you feel like, okay, there's like a lot of things going on, but you can manage. But like at that point, like somehow things started to unravel a bit also, because maybe it's also the phase. Like okay, student, it was like a bit of carefree life. You didn't think so much about okay, what's next in life. But as a PhD, it was a bit of a long transition. A 4-year period to think about it.
And life gets serious, more serious.
Life gets serious, yes, and
Enschede.
And Enschede also, yeah. It's I mean, like it's still international environment there, but I also felt like, in that phase of my life, like I just want to grow roots, like because I didn't feel it in Indonesia, in my family, and been like kind of moving about. But yeah, in Enschede it was quite challenging in that way that people are kind of, they are connected to the university and then they come for a couple of years and then they moved on somewhere. So it was really, there's like that feeling of isolation and loneliness growing. And then, combine that with the stress, the pressure, and the anxiety of, like, oh, what am I going to do with my life after this PhD? There was also the reason because, after my PhD, I had to find a job if I want to make a home here in the Netherlands. So there's that additional pressure as well. So it was like when things really unraveled. I did manage to get a job after my PhD, and then I got to stay here. And that's when I am really feeling it, because I was like in survival mode, like I just have to fulfill this and do that and do this. I didn't have a chance to check in with what am I feeling. But after, I got a bit of like to the safe base a bit, like, okay, my residence permit is checked, I got a job, and, kind of, and then I started to feel like really deep exhaustion, like weariness, and not having anyone to truly like share it with. Because like I also have to keep up appearance, like, oh, things are okay, like, and I try to be social, like
pura-pura.
Pura-pura. How do you know that word?
I
Pretense.
speak
Indonesian? Malaysian.
Yes.
Okay, pura-pura. A bit of a pretense, kind of. If you want to attract friends, of course, they would be more attracted if you are looking like, okay, social, and, like, you have your life together, you look cool, and so on. But, I was completely not feeling that way. And then it was like at some point, I just couldn't anymore to put up the facade. So.
And what happened then? Was there a specific situation at the moment that you couldn't put up, or was it more gradual?
Yeah, a bit gradual, I think, but it was like quite a fast spiral down, like poof. I think like I noticed like I got like on the way to depression, like I think I must have had like some burnout episodes or so on, because I felt really irritated, really angry at people, and then I was also like discovering more about I think kind of like I have complex trauma from my family, and I was really angry, like, and I was not having the right channel, so I was kind of like very harsh to people.
Hardly to imagine for myself you being harsh too.
You should meet me like years ago. But it was also how I treat myself. I was really harsh, kind of like like, okay, you have your PhD, you have your job, like, kind of what are you doing with your life? You like such sort a failure, like not feeling
sort of inner critic.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, it's more than critic. It's I don't know. It was very harsh. Army of enemies of kind of like like there's an enemy within that was bullying me and kind of like torturing me, like, and then I was reaching out for help, but because of I was so good at the pretense. Then it was not right away, kind of so obvious that I needed serious help. But thankfully, it's a bit of my persistence as well. That and I really couldn't put up anymore with the facade, and so I got my psychological help and so on, and. That's been a long way, kind of like to look at it now, like, that is like the big milestone, I guess, like that. All right, I'm actively taking steps. And back then I remember also the frustration, like, where is this going? When am I going to be healed? Going to be like,
let's set a deadline.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's a whole process where I learned to also be gentle, be compassionate, be kind to myself.
Are you? Are you?
Yeah, it's always work in progress, like you said. Yeah, but I think I'm doing quite well. Yeah. Yeah, and being kind also, like in kind of finding my own resource, like that I'm not dependent on psychologists or therapists or my partner or whatever. That I also have my my tools, my resource that I know when to use. Kind of like, like I'm feeling down today. Kind of, if I let it, of course it could spiral into depressive mode. But now I have my practice as well. How to lift myself up. And that's kind of a bit of the journey, maybe, Michiel. It's a bit like going left and right, but that's been on the path, because one thing I realized, kind of like when I was in the depth of that depression, felt like I was completely broken. Nothing can fix me. But then as maybe it was also, I took a bit of a blind faith, like, okay, I just do this. Next step, okay, like even I didn't feel right away the effect, I'm feeling better and so on, but those crucial, painful steps were kind of the ones that got me here today, because later on I learned also, and I discovered for myself, like trauma can impact us really big time, but we don't need to be defined by it all our lives. No, we can rewire, and it's also scientifically
neuroplasticity, and we can rewire, but it takes a lot of time.
We can rewire, and a lot of
effort.
time. I don't know about the time, but for sure a lot of effort, a lot of diligence. But it is possible, and it is something that I'm amazed, like I'm energized, like to say this, like don't give up hope, like it is like like it is possible.
There is hope, and I love that you share that. And so do you believe healing is cultivatable?
Absolutely.
That's hopeful.
Absolutely.
For many of us, I believe.
Yeah.
If you look back at that dark period in your life, challenging, learnful, but also dark place, I can imagine. Were there a few like empowering moments or choices you made which ultimately led you to become who you are right now, and why are you doing what you're doing? Are there a few really moments, choices, or perspectives which empowered you on the path where you're now on?
Yeah. My first thought goes to my friend. I think she could be my oldest friend from Indonesia. I know her from my university days in Jakarta. From her, actually, I learned about mindfulness in the Plum Village tradition, because she's a Buddhist, and she was already familiar with it, and I was born Catholic, raised Catholic. I got baptized, confirmed, but like soon after confirmation, I was really searching for, where is that connection with up there? But I soon gave up, because it seemed like maybe there's, where is it, But when I was in the depth of my depression, somehow I got in contact with my friend Sumi, her name, and and then she shared also like some maybe you can read this or there's like Plum Village, like their monastery is in France, but they sometimes do retreats in Germany, so it is possible for me to join. And so there were that's kind of like one. Maybe now to look back now, it's crucial moment.
It sounds also like that she had a sort of role modeling, role model role without deliberately being the role model. But if you look back to it, it sounds like on that specific journey you were on, it sounds like, what was her name again?
Sumi.
Oh, beautiful. So but and then further along the way, because it's a whole process of multiple years, and like we agreed, we are work in progress. Luckily, also, otherwise it would be boring, right? If there was nothing anymore to work about,
enlightenment. No, enlightenment. I'm Buddha sitting here.
Okay, no, interesting.
It's a joke.
No, of course, but further on the journey, because she lives still in Indonesia, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but what was helping you here?
So
beautiful that there's a starting point, but also here, like, because you were lonely. She
planted
really
the seeds.
She planted the seeds.
And then that was like, it reached a fertile ground. Or at that moment I really needed it, and that's also like how that I took action. So I think like that's also kind of my persistence. Like if I really want something, I take action. So I went to my first mindfulness retreat with the Plum Village. It was in Germany, and then that's for the first time, Michiel. Like I learned like to calm my mind, because before that, it's always like a war here inside my mind. But even like like the basic mindfulness is okay, observe your breathing and so on. But somehow in the Plum Village tradition, like that's also why it resonated with me so much. It's something you do in every moment, like every activity, like drinking tea or now I'm talking to you, kind of there's also that awareness still that mindfulness can still be there. It doesn't have to be done with eyes closed and with a mantra. No, but very applicable in day-to-day life. And the aspect of community, that's also very strong in the Plum Village. And those are like the gifts that I really needed back then. Kind of the community and, the sense of like, okay, it's okay. I don't have to perform. I don't have to outsmart everyone. I don't have to, show off my talents. I'm accepted without, without contributing.
No, you don't necessarily have to do something.
You don't have to prove yourself.
Yeah, beautiful. And are you on that level already, that you don't have to prove every time everything?
How many levels are there? I think like this is also a human condition. The judge, like we always have this judge, there
are books written about it, bookshelves written. It is. Yeah. So, it's a business model around self-judgment, right?
So kind of the voice is still there. Every now and then I catch it. Like, oh, Irene, you're 40 something. Like, what are you doing with your life? And are you sure? Like, this is like, this is what you're gonna do and so on. But then kind of like it's also like having healthy conversation with my inner voice, like how to have compassion again. So if I'm stripped of everything I achieve, all my diplomas, my whatever, my titles and my achievements, it is a challenge, like to imagine myself like in that place. Can I still be happy? And I'd like to cultivate that. Okay, that everything can be gone like tomorrow, and I can still be happy.
That sounds as a real powerful tool to learn, because we all have that self-judgment, inner critic. Mo Gaudat, Mo Gaudat, a founder of the business officer once of Google X, wrote a book about it, and it's the little voice in our head, and it's all about the inner critic. So it's we all struggle with that from time to time, but before you have the compassion for yourself and the better talk to yourself, at what point do you say what to yourself to come to that point? So you are inner critic, you're criticizing yourself and not good enough, and you're 40 and yada yada yada. What specifically are you doing to reach to the point that you are looking at yourself with more compassion? You have to do something, right?
Yeah. That's the journey, right?
Is it the button?
The journey.
Give me that button.
No.
Give me that
quick
remote.
I'm telling you,
control.
No recipe, no shortcuts. But maybe to roll back a little bit, because like during my therapy years, like I also did a lot of inner child healing, because like then, I think you resonate a lot with or a lot of our complex trauma that stems from our childhood and kind of the relationships back then with our first family, and I've learned to to accept my inner child. Really to visualize her, because I have a poignant picture. I saw a picture, like you have in your man cave. So I have also my own picture.
My progress room. It's called the situation or progress room. It's. But I introduced it as a man cave. Maybe I should rephrase and find other words for that.
Yeah. So kind of to visualize. Like when. It is really my inner child that was not that has not received like the unconditional love, the sense of safety, the sense of warmth, and for years, like I was really visualizing, my 4-year-old that she lives with me. For now, like if I take this moment, like she could be sitting there, and and I'm really like a mother to this inner child. And sometimes, I go to work, I bike, let's go to work, like you hop on my back and so on. So I was maybe a bit like maybe a bit cuckoo, but it worked, like it worked, like and kind of to I'm cooking dinner. I could be like in a bad mood and grumpy, or I'm tired and I'm still cooking dinner, but hey, little one, my nickname when I was childhood is Reni. Reni. Yeah. Okay, you want to see what I'm cooking here? Okay, this is how you chop the carrots or onion. I learned a new technique today, something like that. So kind of really to embrace my inner child, like that has not had the nurturing, that has not had the mothering or the fathering that she deserved, and that she is part of me.
Beautiful. I have a book downstairs. Thank you for sharing. And it's called Internal Family System. And it's all about the whole... so you have your family system, right? But it's external. But you have also your internal family system. And the inner critic of one of the... And but it's beautiful that you share that, because I think a lot of us are dealing with that inner child which isn't nourished, isn't seen, isn't heard, isn't understood, isn't appreciated, isn't acknowledged, isn't loved, isn't cared for. And do you think a lot of the inner critic, when it comes to you personally, comes from that early experiences, right?
Yeah, early experiences that kind of like the most fundamental one, but then throughout life we also have other negative experience. And this is also something like inner child is like really in the therapeutic sense, like in the kind of coaching that I do now, that I also went through myself, like in the mental fitness coaching. Like there's also like an exercise visualizing the child, which is really about kind of like it really taps into your compassion, your empathy, because like if you're feeling, like if you have this inner critic, you make a mistake, for instance, or you have a failure in your project, and you can be like kind of like torturing, beating yourself. But like visualize that, okay, like if you as a young child, like you come home, like you lost a match, for instance, or like what would you do to that child? Like you would embrace and take care and like love and okay, what do you need now? Instead of like beating that child further, or you lost and kind of you're unworthy and so on. So this is like. Yeah, something that I think like we can be more at ease, more kind, more compassionate, starting with ourselves. And I think this child within, like we can really connect with him or her.
It resonates, Irene, and thank you for sharing. And is this also part of where you are helping your clients with to this internal and the inner critic and having more compassion for yourself? And
yes, Michiel.
Beautiful.
I think that's the key. Like what do we want? Like we talk about kind of having fulfillment, but also like we feel good. We feel happy. We feel. We feel that we have kind of supportive relationships in our life, and none of those like could be achieved or could be sustained if we are the one sabotaging those with our inner critic or whatever it is, like these saboteur patterns. And that's at the heart of what I do at Mental Fitness.
Yes, we will share where can when people listen to our conversation and think, hey, there's so much said, and it's we touched upon identity and belonging. We touched upon mental health and resilience. We touched upon community and connection. Yeah. We touched upon vulnerability. It was all about vulnerability. Our whole conversation and authenticity. Also about self-empowerment moments, empowering moments. And also in a sense, you can only have such a conversation, I believe, when it comes to me. I feel very personally safe around you. I hope we feel this.
Likewise.
And thank you. And so when people feel it resonates with a lot of, with people, where can they find you? And can they reach out to you somewhere?
Yeah. Where did we meet, Michiel? On LinkedIn.
So people can reach you. Via LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yes, I'm very findable on LinkedIn. So my name is maybe unusual, not so easy to spell.
We will share it, of course, in the show notes. And,
that's perhaps the best place to find me. And I have also, kind of. I have a website. It's work in progress, like we say.
The Journeys of Empowerment is also on the construction right now.
And but I think a good start is LinkedIn. And of course, people can also contact me by email.
Yes,
I'm happy to
and we can share that also in the. All right, and since because we can easily talk for hours, and as much as I appreciate that, I hope the listeners will at least as much appreciate it also. So thank you for patiently listening to our conversation. If there is, maybe one thing that you hope listeners will take away from your story, what would it be?
You deserve to feel loved, to be seen, to be heard, to be supported. That's your birthright.
Beautiful. Irene, thank you so much for your genuine openness, sharing a lot of vulnerability, being vulnerable, sharing vulnerability. Also, it gives it. I hope it instills some hope in people that healing is cultivatable and that you don't have to be alone. So thank you very much. I'm really happy that we had this conversation.
Oh, me too. Yeah. Thank you also, really from the heart. You mentioned about feeling safe, and it is something we co-create. And thank you for holding this space, for inviting also, with your own vulnerability that you share so openly.
Thank you. Oh, and before we go, I want to introduce someone with a vision that might just change the way you see travel. Meet Virginia, the founder of Genie, where travel isn't just about places, but about people, purpose, and impact. She's on a mission to empower those often overlooked, turning journeys into opportunities for change. Right now, she's in the midst of a 6-week crowdfunding journey to bring this vision to life. Virginia, tell us, why does this matter? And how can we be part of it?
I'm Virginia Schelen, founder of Genie, an impact travel company on a mission to create greater equality through travel and storytelling. At Genie, we design package trips, retreats and workshops that connect people across cultures, while empowering the overlooked. Think of people of color, queer folks, those with accessibility needs and many more. All while we ensure our destinations thrive and make local communities part of the impact. So let's be real. Tourism has its downsides: environmental harm, mass tourism, and exploitation of resources, animals and people. That's why we do things differently. Every Genie experience leaves an impact, whether through action or direct financial support. So, to make our mission, greater equality through travel and storytelling, a reality, we started a crowdfunding round. You get the chance to help us shine and drive real impact. Here's how. You can make a contribution. Big and small amounts mean the world to us. So if you're planning a trip, check out our trip rewards. Second, please share this story with 3 people who might appreciate this. Third, if you have any connections to well-known impact-driven leaders or advocates, please connect us. Together we can make travel a force for change. Join the Genie movement today.